Hey, this is Nick from Remedy667.com, and today is Horror Font Friday. Yeah, Remedy667.com. It's the best place for horror fonts and stuff. But today, we are taking a look at the lettering from the Severin box set of Al Adamson films, Blood of Ghastly Horror. And that is actually where this copy came from. That is why I have like some memorabilia from this film, but none of it have this lettering. And it's pretty interesting. So from the Severin box set, because of that half toning, we get some really interesting textures on these characters. And that's all I have to say about that. So let's get to it without any furtherness. Also, as you can see, it's been a crazy March. I think that one might be the only one you've seen so far. Forgot to turn the audio on. Did like all sorts of stuff. Anyway, Blood of Ghastly Horror is what we're doing now. Today is Friday the 13th. And yeah, that's all there is to say again. So I'm gonna kind of chop these out as I go. I know normally I'll kind of drag down the big old ligatures and that sort of thing. I had my work computer over here. It was like doing some process of trying to back some stuff up, and then it kind of crashed. Lost everything. No, but lost a lot of things. I don't know if I mentioned the art show poster thing. I didn't hear anything back, so I don't think I got that, but that's fine because I had sent a weird illustration. With a weird don't do this type of title. All right, so for the C, I'm thinking I want it to mimic itself, so I'm going to reflect it. Okay, we're going to rotate it around, and that's going to give us like as above, so below. But I'm going to extend it just a tiny bit to the right and clip it like that. This one, and maybe it shouldn't do that quite so much. We stepped the size up a little bit. This looks like it comes in a little bit colder than I want it to. Maybe that's a little too hot. So that curve was just a little, I feel like the G, it kind of swooped in a little bit more. So I feel like that balances a little bit better with the C. For our E, this is a weird one because the F is kind of unbalanced in where that center bar is. Now, if you look at this font, the A kind of breaks that rule with the center bar being kind of lower like it should be. But the B follows the F, follows the H, follows the R. So everything else is kind of sitting on that same center line, which is kind of weird, but whatever. We don't need to dwell on such things. We're going to take this second L that we had and use that to make the E, and just trimming away some of this. And I feel like that kind of works. I mean, what do you say? What do you say? Group that. Let's get rid of this little dipper right there. But I think the rest of it, that like choppy kind of wick situation, it's kind of interesting. Let's also get rid of this dot just to differentiate it a bit from the F. And you know what? Let's get rid of the dot and the F too and redraw the back. I mean, it's cool that the dot looks kind of, or that the F looks kind of deteriorated, but I think it's going to look weird in the full alphabet of it. And you know what? I should fix that here too. Perfect. F. We got the G and the H. Good to go. We're going to make an I out of the L, you know. And that is the song that we sing when we're making those letters. Ask anybody. They all sing when they do it. I. We're going to skip the J, the K. We're also going to skip the M. I kind of want to skip the N also, but I feel like that would be bad. That P is going to be also very high-waisted. Whoops. There we go with that. So as you can see, this is coming along N for nicely. Smooth that side out just a little bit. That side actually looks pretty good. I'm wondering if that is too far over. This top one, like if that's coming in too far. Sorry, this N is kind of tricky. Ultimately, I also think it's not really going to look right anyway, which makes me wonder, like, why are you bothering with this, Nick? But, because that's what we do. We bother. That looks much better. All right, so see that? I guess we call that a stem or a serif coming out there. Both those words are probably wrong, but I think that helped. And as you can see, we also broke our little loop, so we'll fix that. No M, N-O-P. This P, I think I already said we're going to keep it high-waisted like everything else, just to kind of fit in with that style. Our Q. I'm going to keep this Q going way over there because I feel like I want it to touch like that. Just pinch it in a little bit, and no, not so good, Al. We'll group that Q R, S, T. Yes, those are letters in the alphabet, Nick. We're going to take our H and our O, and we're going to make a U. See what I'm doing here, just slightly, just so it'll kind of match better. Cut both of those at the same time. U. Group that. Scratch my ear. I have a JK idea. Idea. Now, I think I messed up. Yeah, I don't think my other video had audio, so it's not released. So I'm not going to explain what I was about to explain here, because it won't make any sense. But Pathfinder, I'm going to combine these. I'm going to give this a cut in a couple places, because I'm taking this piece out for cheeseburgers. I'm going to group that. I actually want my J... I really kind of want it to condense a little bit, but I also don't want to have to draw it all. But you know what? Too bad, so sad. So now it feels... Actually, I think that feels pretty good. It does feel like it's going to fall over to the left a little bit, but I think that that's because of the way this top piece is. I wonder if we substitute it for a flat piece, would that work? And this typeface seems to kind of bounce back and forth anyway. So let's see. Perhaps the J needs the double serif. And now it feels a little right heavy to me, like it's gonna fall to the right. I don't know if anybody else is seeing that, but to compensate for that, I'm gonna give it a little bit of a tilt, just ever so slightly, and that now feels a little more balanced. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now is move that over a little bit. Broke everything, right? That feels more like a proper J. What do you say? We'll go ahead and delete that first one. Group that second one all together. So I want to make a K out of a Y. Stop me if you've heard this one. So it's essentially just going to work like this. I need this one to go just a tiny bit lower and a little bit thinner. Same on this side. I just need to thin it down just a little bit. Ooh, oh, I just closed all the windows. Did the light change? I'm not really sure if I'm convinced by that K, but looking at some of the rest of this alphabet, I don't know that I'm super convinced by any of it. I feel like the K should probably be a little wider. And this angle should be out a little bit. And the reason I made that K a little wider is because all these letters are pretty wide. L, there's going to be an M there, maybe, at some point. Probably going to make it with a Y. Let's make the X while I got you here. From the Y. This is going to be a nasty X. So you know how those don't necessarily need to match up, but they also probably shouldn't be that far apart as they are here. So we're going to bring them in a little bit. Did I cut both of those on the same side? I did. That looks much more balanced. That feels comfortable. All right, now we get our A. This is going to be a weird one because using the A as a V, the rules of this all, even though that little thing popping out down there, that slanted serif, we're going to get rid of it because it doesn't make sense on the bottom. Nobody's doing anything fancy on the bottom, and we're going to squeeze it in just a little bit. I kind of want this W to do something weird like that. That doesn't feel natural at all. It's because this one needs to be cut. Group. There we go. Does that feel fitting? This side feels like it should be a little bit wider. Oh, that was a bad idea. All right, so this side also needs to be a little bit wider. Now that feels better. It still looks ridiculous, but better. All right, now we can't do our ENZ because the center of the Z would be the thin side. So we're going to borrow that from the X. And that time we are going to bring these together. And our E is just going to get, first of all, combined by Pathfinder. Cut down the middle. And it's going to get smallified quite a bit because of a lot of reasons. But mainly because I didn't want it popping down and like getting too in the way of other stuff. Now that Z feels totally wrong, right? But you saw the last thing I did to it, tilted that side over, because even though I get this all the way to the left, see all that space on the right? So I probably want the space on the right there. And then that's how big the Z should really be. So let's just go ahead and draw a circle in the middle here. And paint it black. Now all we have to do is draw the M which I think I said I was going to use the Y for, and the H. And this M is going to look just as funky as the N did. And we're going to do that bottom the same way we did the V. And this is going to slide over. And the top of this is going to cut off. There you go. Looks totally weird, but also sort of works. Feel like that. I feel like that I want it to be a little bit wider. And we'll go ahead and group that. And there we go. This is kind of an interesting, I guess you'd call it a castle font, maybe. So we got our full alphabet here with the Blood of Ghastly Terror. The K still looks a little off, but you know, I think it probably just needs to thicken up right there. No, that didn't really help it for the better, did it? That did. All right, so the M and N are so weird. They're all kind of interesting shapes. And the Z came out good. It doesn't feel too unbalanced. Feels a little right heavy, but what are you going to do? I think I'm fine with it. So that was it. That's all we got for Friday the 13th for those who celebrate. Check us out at remedy667.com. We got a new font. Came out today called Old Denton Road, which is named after a road where I grew up that has a haunted cemetery. And yeah, go check it out at remedy667.com. Give it a test drive and pick up a copy and use it, and then show us cool stuff that you make. I will see you next week for the next edition of Horror Font Friday. I've been your host, Nick from remedy667.com, and this was the Blood of Ghastly Horror on Horror Font Friday. See you next week.